Is there anyone, and I mean anyone, that you can trust in the Chiefs offense other than Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce? All that more in this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Madjuk.
To the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match worth up to $100. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Kate Madjuk. You can follow her on Twitter at Kate Madjuk. Kate, a pretty boring Thursday night football game, but we've got takes.
We've got takes. Yeah. First of all, I want to start with the Chiefs offense, Marcus, because that is, I think the expectations were so low for the Broncos that we can push that discussion to the side.
Yeah.
The expectations here all season long, with your dynasty rosters, is that the Chiefs are the safest, most reliable, offense that you could draft players from, right? Because Patrick Mahomes literally continually drafted season over season as the overall QB1 in dynasty. But this Chiefs offense looks a little broken, to say the least. And I think part of that is the fact that there are no players that Patrick Mahomes feels like he can rely on outside of Travis Kelce. But when you are limiting your offense to targets to Travis Kelce and targets to a running back, that is no way to execute. The Chiefs rank ninth in total points scored per game, a little bit better on the yardage front, seventh in yards, but they're not necessarily converting these drives the way that they have in years past. Patrick Mahomes been playing it, kind of safe with his running backs. I think in part because he doesn't have the wide receiver that he really needs to open things up on the outside while you have Travis Kelce working the middle.
Yeah, and you see this in this game. They were 4 of 13 on third downs, all of 1 on fourth downs, and all 4 conversions were from Travis Kelce. Like if it's not Kelce getting the football, this offense becomes really stagnant. And you, when you're watching this game, you feel it. Like there's just it was a 3-0 game for most of the first half. For most of the first half, it was a 3-0 game. The Chiefs put together a touchdown drive, a pretty quick touchdown drive after some penalties, but there's just nothing that flows like this off. Like we're used to seeing, and it's because of the lack of receivers. It's because of the lack of trust. And my question to you is there anybody outside? We can include Isaiah Pacheco because he had 16 carries for 62 yards plus 6 for 36 in the passing game. Is there anybody here that we are excited about moving forward at all? Or is this just basically, let's wait until next year until they bring somebody else in?
I'm going to continue to bang the drum for Rashee Rice just because the interesting thing, he still isn't a full-time fixture in this pass attack. He's still very young. He's inexperienced. And I don't think rookie Rashee Rice is the answer to this offense. So
no, it's not.
Featuring him, I want to put that aside. But from a dynasty perspective, I just can't. I'm so excited from what we've seen from Rashee Rice so far this season. Just seems to be playing super well in just every opportunity that he gets, which is just so refreshing to see for such a young guy. 81 overall PFF receiving grade, that ranks 17th among any receiving players at any position. He just seems to be a fixture anytime he is on the field. You note that he's being targeted on 90 or 29% of routes run. That's the 5th highest rate in the league, only behind Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, and Puka Nacua this season. So when he is on the field, Travis Kelce is looking for him, averaging 2.63 yards per route run. You love to see that. I think he's playing really well.
The problem is
7
he's just not on the field all
He's
that
yeah,
much.
he's not a full-time player yet. So that is my biggest takeaway. I still think, like he's got a long way to go, but I think everything that you've seen indicates that this could still be a buy low window for Rushy Rice. Even in terms of like his blocking. There was I can't remember if it was a catch and run or what if it was a
It was,
run.
Jerick McKinnon that got called back.
Yes, it got
Yeah.
called back, but Rashi Rice's blocking effort down the field, I was so freaking impressed. And I was like, that what he's doing right there, like that didn't show up on the stat sheet whatsoever. But that is something that your coaching staff is going to say, like, okay, that's going to earn you more snaps in the field. That's going to earn you more routes run because we can trust you beyond just running a route. We can trust you in other phases of the game, like the run game, like supporting your teammates in other aspects of the receiving game. That all of these things, like there's a lot of intangibles I feel like we're seeing from Rashi Rice that again just don't translate to the stat sheet. I love um, coming out of school, I loved his ability to, be available for his quarterback when a play breaks down. And I still think that, in limited opportunities, he's made that presence felt. I think, even for as much maybe hype as there is right now, I still think Rashi Rice could be an interesting buy because maybe with a little bit more experience, he could be the trusted wide receiver that Travis Kelce or that Patrick Mahomes needs to go to outside of Travis Kelce moving forward.
I agree with you. If there's one player that I'm buying in this offense, it is Rashi Rice. The problem is I just don't know when that role is going to be there where he's playing 75% of the snaps. Do you have his snap counts from yesterday in front of you? Because I'm curious to see how many routes he ran because man, there would be a lot of key third downs. He's just not in the on the field. And I only saw him on the field for one or two red zone snaps. It seems like they were going with Justin Watson and Justin Ross and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And then it was Kadarius Toney who scored the 1-yard touchdown. If for somebody who we are expecting or hoping to break out, I just wonder how long it's going to be before he has a somewhat full-time role.
Rashi Rice actually ran the third most routes on the Chiefs offense ahead of Sky Moore, ahead of Justin Watson, ahead of Kadarius Toney, which is interesting because I feel like we saw some decent involvement here from Kadarius Toney.
How
Yeah,
many routes did he run?
uh, 25. So
Okay.
for comparison, Travis Kelce, who runs all of the routes, 39 routes, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 34. Then you have Rashi Rice
Yeah.
with a decent
So
drop off at 25. So he
maybe we're
is
getting there.
maybe we're getting there. And I think like again, by now before these solid plays start translating to the box score.
I will say there was one slant that he caught in this game, and it was I think it was in the fourth quarter, where it was just a 5-yard slant, and he took it 28 yards, and it was just the explosion that he has compared to some of the other receivers. Like I don't want to bag on Sky Moore and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but they just don't have that same kind of start and stop juice that he has, and I think that's what this offense is missing.
There was a comment on the broadcast that they thought, I think they briefly thought that Rashi Rice was Jerick McKinnon based on
I
the
get it.
burst.
I get it.
And
Yes.
it was I was like, oh, I could totally see that because he looked so good.
Yes.
Four targets, 4 catches, 72 receiving yards on the day, 55 yards after the catch. Like, I really think that this is the start of something special. And maybe because again, I think we've been so spoiled with rookie wide receiver production that we're not maybe necessarily appreciating all these little things that I think
Sure.
Rashi Rice is doing right. And I feel like I'm like a broken record calling for Rashi Rice because I have loved the moment the Chiefs drafted him. I thought this was a really, really nice pairing for
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes when it comes to fruition. But Marcus, the thing is, Patrick Mahomes needs help right now.
Yes.
And like
Which makes
that,
it feels like they've got to go out and make some kind of move over the next couple of weeks because this team needs the offense to be really good, and they're just not that yet.
yeah, you need some like I think this management staff has gotten a little comfortable with the
Yep.
fact that like Patrick Mahomes, he can do it all. And like to this point, like they've gotten it done. Like You don't care about how pretty the wins are. You care about, you know, like the wins.
Yeah,
Like that's all
yeah.
that's all you care about.
They, they,
Um,
they've got to make a move, and I expect that they will. One player, Kate, who might be on the move in the next couple of weeks, Jerry Jeudy. We will talk about him next. This episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That is why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jase Medical makes sure that you have the medication in hand. Jase Medical is simple. They'll handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication, delivery, and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com. We'd like to let you know about the Locked On NFL Kickoff live show that's going on every single Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on every Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Hosts Tanitra Batiste, Jarvis Davis, and Kyle Krabs will break down every game on the NFL slate to get you ready for your team's matchup, your fantasy lineups, your betting angles, and more. Plus, get the in-depth local analysis from our stable of NFL hosts across the country who know these teams better than anyone else. Find Locked On NFL Kickoff live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on any Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Okay, let's talk about the Denver Broncos offense. Obviously, this was a really bad game. 8 total points, 197 yards. Russell Wilson threw 2 interceptions. The story for me, and it seems like the story for everybody today, Jerry Jeudy got called out by Steve Smith before the game.
mhm.
I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the actual player. 3 catches for 14 yards on 5 targets. It seems like the end is near here for Jeudy and the Broncos.
Yeah, there have been rumors swirling literally all week about the prospect of Jerry Jeudy being traded ahead of the trade deadline, which it's kind of felt like the writing's been on the wall a little bit for at least one of the receivers. I'm kind of surprised that it's Jerry Jeudy to this point. But it seems like there's not necessarily a great fit. It seems like this Broncos offense is maybe dismantling a little bit. The defense is dismantling. They're starting to trade away some of these players in what feels like a rebuild. And Jerry Jeudy, sorry. It feels like Jerry Jeudy is a part of that, and it kind of surprising to say the least. But he really hasn't shown that kind of you really want from your first round wide receiver. I want to go back to the 2020 draft, Marcus, and
Hmm.
refresh our memories on what made Jerry Jeudy so special because it was the speed, right?
Yep.
It was the route running. Why hasn't this translated to the NFL to date? And do you think he can benefit from a different offense and in a different system? Like, what am I missing here? What went wrong with Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, I really feel like Jerry Jeudy in a lot of ways was a very similar prospect to Chris Olave coming out of Ohio State, where they've got this deep speed, but they're also an incredible route runner in the short to intermediate parts of the field. He just hasn't been with a quarterback that can get him the ball on script and on schedule. I mean, the first part of his career with Drew Lock and all the other different quarterbacks they went through, and now Russell Wilson, who has never really been that type of quarterback that plays in the structure of an offense. Now Russell Wilson's really struggling. Everything is, he had 95 passing yards yesterday, 82 net passing yards. He needs to go with a quarterback that's a pocket quarterback that can throw the ball accurately on time and in rhythm. So that's which team could use that? I mean, we could debate that, but he's just not a fit in this Sean Payton offense with Russell Wilson a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody is a great fit for
Well, it seems like
Russell
Cortland
Wilson
Sutton, though,
here.
has at least carved out a nice little role. Like it's just so clear that Sutton is a better fit in this offense than what Jeudy is.
It definitely seems like they have a better connection, and maybe Cortland Sutton plays to Russell Wilson style a little bit more than Jerry Jeudy does. It definitely seems like he could have a good fit with, I don't know, maybe he just needs a fresh start, because
Yeah.
I don't think the speed, like, it's not like he lost speed. I still think I still think he's a talented wide receiver with some untapped upside, but
Can I give
could
you a
be very
situation
dependent.
that
Yeah.
I'd like to I think he's the guy that Carolina should be targeting in a trade. Carolina clearly
Mhm.
needs a receiver on the outside. I think Bryce Young is that quarterback that can get him the ball accurately. You put him on the outside, you let Adam Thielen play in the slot. You've got Mingo as a kind of a developmental player. I suddenly like that receiving core a whole heck of a lot better, and it probably is not going to cost that much for Carolina to do something like that.
Yeah, I think there would be definitely an upgrade there. And I think if you suddenly kind of push DJ Chark down the depth chart a little
Yeah.
bit, but he's still another asset to offer some of that speed like Jerry Jeudy does, um, but doesn't necessarily need to feel the weight of being a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could be a very, very interesting fit. Um, is Jerry Jeudy developed enough to raise the level of play from Bryce Young? Because
Yes,
that
I think so. You also
uh,
it helps to get that Alabama connection back together, right? I mean, they didn't play together at Alabama, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I just think that's probably where he needs to go with a quarterback like that, that I think is pretty accurate, does throw with a lot of anticipation if we want to see him kind of reach his full potential.
so do you think this is a buy opportunity for dynasty managers?
Yeah, probably because I am betting on talent. And it's so cheap to get Jerry Judy right now because he's basically given you nothing this year. Yeah, I think I probably would be willing to buy Jerry Judy now, knowing that the situation is going to change pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of like potential fits out there, especially because you don't necessarily have to pay a ton. I think,
No,
like, what do you expect he would be traded for? Maybe a third round pick,
that's kind of
fourth?
I'm thinking maybe a conditional third round pick.
Okay. Yeah, that was sort of the range I was thinking. Maybe what about the New England Patriots? I know obviously there's a dumpster
It's not
fire there, and
it's not a bad fit. I don't know what that offense is going to look like, but I do think that Jerry Judy walks in that room and it's instantly the best receiver that they have.
yeah, and I do think that again, being one of the better wide receivers in this crew, I still think that
Yeah.
he'd be an upgrade. Although I do love me some Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, me too. Can I mention one more Broncos receiver? The
Yes.
first pick that Sean Payton made with the Denver Broncos was trading up for Marvin Mims, who we liked quite a bit. Still has the most explosive plays in this team. Did not get a single target yesterday. We had guys such as Chris Manhertz, Brandon Johnson, Samaje Perine.
Brandon
Uh,
Johnson is way too involved in this
yeah,
offense, man.
all of them got more targets than Marvin Mims on Thursday. I don't know what's going on here. There's absolutely no reason for Marvin Mims to get shut out in this game.
No, like his route running, his speed, like he offers you everything that you could possibly want. And to this point, like I don't know what goes on behind the scenes in the locker room, obviously, but when you're looking at his performance on the field, he's been one of the most efficient wide receivers to date in this entire league, let alone when you're actually looking at rookies or
Mm,
specifically, options here in the Denver Broncos offense. Like, he has given you no reason that we can say from our couch to not be investing heavily in um that player that you traded up to draft.
yeah,
I'm I'm puzzled. And again, maybe to this point, maybe a buy low point for Marvin Mims if some fantasy managers are frustrated with the lack of usage, which we should be.
yeah,
But to this point, everything tells you that the he's earning it. I don't know
yeah.
what else to say, Marcus. It's puzzling.
It
He's
is.
being targeted deep down the field. Almost 50% of his targets have come deep. that 20 or plus air yards. He's shown ability in limited contested catch opportunities, averaging 23 yards per reception, 7.3 yards after the catch per reception, 3.97 yards per route run. It's ridiculous how incredibly efficient he has been in these limited opportunities, but he just needs more of them. And I like Sean Payton, unless he totally catfished us, he's a good coach. And I think common sense should win out. I don't know.
We'll
I don't
see.
know.
I'm not very optimistic, but
Ah.
all right, okay, let's get to our favorite segment of the week, promotion commotion. Players that you should promote from your bench into your starting lineups in week 6. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, all you have to do is pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had playing daily fantasy football. You can win up to 25 times your money this season. My favorite part of PrizePicks and what separates them from every other DFS platform is that they have something called the reboot policy, where they will reboot your entry if one of your players is injured in the first half and does not return in the second half. That player is rebooted from your lineup. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match worth up to $100. All right, it's time for promotion commotion. We are telling you to promote these players from your bench or maybe even your waiver wire into your starting lineups. Kate, who do you got for us?
All right, I'm going to start off a little easy here, Marcus. We're going to ease into some of that grossness. I'm talking about wide receiver Josh Downs, rookie for the Indianapolis Colts, who, is a bit of a favorite target for quarterback Gardner Minshew, who's going to be starting for the next 4 weeks. With Richardson under center, had just a 16% target share, but with playing with Gardner Minshew, we've actually seen Josh Downs get a 25% target share. Been playing a lot out of the slot. Jaguars cornerback Trey Herndon has struggled in slot coverage this year, giving up a ton of yardage and several touchdowns to players coming out of the slot. So I think this could be a really nice matchup, but I also think it could be a really nice volume play as we see Gardner Minshew take over the reins under center.
I like that one. I'm going Chuba Hubbard. Last couple of
Ooh.
weeks, 14 carries, 41 rushing yards, not great. 9 carries for 35 yards, not great. But does get to play Miami this week. We'll see about the status of Miles Sanders. I just think Chuba Hubbard is a pretty decent running back. I'm willing to play him as a flex play this week. I think he gets into the end zone at least once.
Yeah, I love that. Are you ready to get grosser though?
Oh,
We got to get
I am.
grosser.
Go ahead.
Okay. Running back Latavius Murray for the Buffalo Bills.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
There literally might be people that didn't even know Latavius Murray was still playing football, depending on how
I had a Damian Harris
degenerate you are.
sometimes.
Hey, yeah, and that's what's kind of crazy. But I do think if you are in the most dire of situations, Murray could be an interesting total dart throw. He might be available on your waiver wire. He's 33 years old, yes, but his role has very much been inside the red zone and in the end zone. He's had the most goal line opportunities with carries inside the 5 on the Buffalo Bills offense. He's finished as a top 30 running back in 3 of 5 weeks this season because of those touchdowns that he's been able to convert there. And the Bills face the Giants this week, who rank second in goal line touchdowns allowed to running backs in 2023. Shoot your shot.
Yeah, there you go. I don't have anybody else. I'm good. So I'm just rolling with Chuba Hubbard. I like your picks as well. So that is it for today's show. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. Go check out the shows on YouTube. Go follow Kate on Twitter at Kate Majuk. I'll also go check out her work for Pro Football Focus. She does a ton of fantasy football content over there. I am at Marcus_Mosier. We'll see you right back here on Monday to break down all of the action from week 6.